Good afternoon. It's new toy day in the workshop, or what will become soon the office. You can see the framing here and the mess behind me. That's because this is being turned into like a workspace and gaming and sim racing space. So over the back here, that will be chopped out. There's going to be a cubby hole there for the sim rig, so it doesn't eat all the way into the room. Bit of a digression, but it's quite exciting for me, as well as this stuff here, which is also exciting because I have a new direct drive wheel for the sim. This is the Fanatec CSL DD 5mm P1 bundle. It's the cheapest direct drive bundle that Fanatec sell. I didn't buy this at random as such. I had been eyeing up the SF1000 from Thrustmaster because that does fit my my Thrustmaster wheelbase. And that's a really lovely wheel. It's the Ferrari F1 replica, and it just got me thinking about where my upgrade path is going to take me with that. So this year, if possible, I would really like to get the extra 2 monitors. There's some other bits and pieces that I need to do in the workshop. I've got the office to finish up. There's plasterboard and timber to buy, and the point is there's a budget. And the T818 from Thrustmaster, which is their direct drive wheelbase, is 600 quid. The wheel is 300 quid. That's £900. I can't afford that anytime soon. So I went and had a look around, and I came across Fanatec's bundle. I've had Fanatec gear in the past, but I went and had a look at the website, and they had this bundle on there, and I thought, well, that's quite good value for money, because for the price of, for an extra 100 quid on the price of a SF1000, I've got a wheel. Right, it's not the one that I want, but it's a wheel and a direct drive wheelbase. So this bundle came to €399 plus, I think it was €27 shipping. That worked out to be £397 in total. And bear in mind, before we actually take a look at this, I should point out that these are going to go on eBay. We will take these out. We're going to have a look at them, see what the quality is like, make sure they work. But they are going to be sold, so they'll ameliorate some of the cost of this, as will selling my old kit. But yeah, I thought that was quite good value for money for the direct drive wheelbase and a wheel. Get us going. I have also bought a McLaren GT3 wheel as well. That's second hand though, and that'll be coming in later on, so we'll give that a go when it turns up. So let's get the camera in and start getting things out of the boxes and seeing if they're any good. So we're going to start with the pedals. I will say that the packaging is very good. It's very nice quality. The boxes that everything arrived in. So the consignment was 3 cardboard boxes, and they all were a perfect fit for the things that were inside. And they got their own printed parcel tape and everything. Okay, so there you go, there's the manual. And Fanatec stickers. Don't think we'll be bothering with... I can't see myself bothering with stickers, to be honest. Okay, so, wow, lots and lots of foam. You can see here. Very foamy. I'm not sure how I'm going to pull it out. I have to just... I don't want to damage the box because these are being resold. So I have to be very careful. Okay, so we've got 2 separate layers. I think we have. Okay, yeah, we have. Right. So, gently put this box down here. So we do. Ah, look at all this. Problem at the moment is I can't see the camera very well. There we go. So, right. Okay, this looks... Is that the heel plate? I think it's the heel plate. So it looks like we have a heel plate, and yeah, there's nothing under there. That's fairly heavy duty. That's 2.5, 3 mil. I haven't got my do you know what? I can go and grab. Carefully work my way around the camera and the bench. Grab a set of calipers. Ordinarily the bench would be under the window, but for the purposes of this, it's the other way around. Okay, so that's 3 mil. 3 mil steel heel plate. That looks very nice. It's very heavy duty. I don't think you could be disappointed in that. And we have the pedals. So we pop that out. That's the cables. So something I forgot to mention with the pedals. as they are supplied, these are supposed to plug into a Fanatec wheelbase, like the one we've got. So they're supplied with an RJ11. No, these are RJ45s. With RJ45 terminated cables, which go from the pedals to the wheelbase. You can buy a USB adapter, and if you want to use them on their own, you have to do that. So there's one pedal, and here is the second. I don't know which one is which. They are slightly different. Okay, let's move this foam down here, and pop the foam down here, and you know what, we'll shift these out of the way. There's no point in putting these together because I'm not using them, but I would like to have a look at them. So this is the CSL P. Have a look on the bottom there. And this one is this one doesn't have a sticker at all. I think this must be the brake, because this has got, sort of side of this feels kind of spongy and springy. So I'm guessing this is the brake pedal, but it's not a load cell by the looks of it. I think it is just maybe it is a load cell. You know what, I'm sort of struggling to see inside here. Whether this, I actually, you know what, no, that looks like, no, it is, so inside here, might be difficult to see, but there's a block here. That looks to me like it's probably a magnet. And there will be a hall sensor in there somewhere. It's a bit more obvious if we grab the other pedal. You can actually see it. That's the hall sensor here, this bit here. And that'll be a magnet. And that just goes past, and the hall sensor reads that. Works in very much the same way that the Club Sport V1s worked. So yeah. Oh, do you know what? They've got a nice feel. They're not bindy. They're not. They're very smooth. They're just a bit like, you know, this is all plastic. This is stamped steel, but you know, quite sturdy, quite thick enough. It's not flimsy. I think for what they are, if you were starting out, well, this was your upgrade, your first big upgrade. To get all of this together is actually quite, I think, quite good. I've got no complaints about those. They're certainly better than the average sort of pedals that you get with cheap pedal sets that are just sprung and work on a potentiometer. Hall sensors are an improvement over anything like that, and yeah, I appreciate that this is not a load cell brake, but do you know what? It actually doesn't feel, God, Jesus, doesn't feel too bad. It's not. Yeah, you know, it's a hall sensor brake, so it's not going to feel as nice as in use. It's not going to feel as nice as a load cell. Well, never mind. We'll get these back in the box, and get these back in the box and get on with the next one. Here's the wheel box. It's slightly chunkier than the pedal one, much thicker. So we'll see how that goes when we actually get the wheel out. This is one, of course, we're keeping, so that's not quite so delicate. Again, very nicely packaged. Got a handle on this one. I think the pedals could have done with, to be honest. They're quite a kind of an awkward shape. It's sort of a long toolbox. Anyway, so oh, hang on. So yeah, no, we're going to open this. I'll open this facing the camera. Let's do that. So there is. I can't read the camera when it's too small, so I can't read this. I'll sort of lean over. There is no greater feeling than winning a race. I'll be honest. It's not quite true. There we go. There's our wheel guide. We'll have a flick through that later. And let's get our wheel out. So, a bit of cardboard stuffing. Chuck it down there. Oh, look at that! It's in a bag. Look, very nice. I have to say, I think in general, the quality of packaging for lots of things has improved. Everything's improved in recent years. bought my new bike helmet recently, and that came with a rucksack. They're not particularly high-end lid either. Only a couple £100. Forgive me for waffling on. I'm just moving this, putting the box back the way it was, moving out of the way. Okay, so here we go. Here's our wheel. That's obviously the back end of the wheel, isn't it? Very nicely packaged, very secure. This is not, you'd have to work really hard to sort of damage it in transit, wouldn't you? This is quite exciting, this bit. Oh, it looks nice. It feels quite nice. You know what? There we go. I didn't expect this, so I thought I was kind of expecting to feel cheap. It doesn't feel, you know, it's not suede. It's rubber. I actually personally am in two minds because my grips on the Thrustmaster open wheel are knackered, and I did buy some suede and some thread to repair them. It's really lovely bright orange neon thread, but to be honest, I actually prefer the feel of the rubber when I'm driving. I drive without gloves, so there you go. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to just have a try with this. Yeah, I think the hand position is going to be a problem for me. I'm used to having, you know, the thumb grips about there, to you know, an open wheel, Formula wheel. But I'm surprised by how much heft that's got. It's quite a nice wheel as it happens. It's in the all right. Yeah, the thumb buttons are a bit of a stretch for me, but I don't know, quite like that. Yeah, that could be a little bit closer. I'll see how it works out in the sim. Bear in mind that I am leaning across a bench here. So if we put that down like that. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be shifting and hitting buttons at the same time. Those shifters are absolutely miles away compared to what I'm used to. I'm used to them being about sort of there, if you can see that, about sort of there. And they feel a bit, they're quite positive, the shifters, but they're a bit mushy. Let's turn it that way. They're a bit mushy. There's a bit of a sort of squish before the click. I'm just sort of looking inside to see where how those switches work. I mean, that's something we might be able to remedy. I don't think it's a bad wheel. I think, to be honest, for what is obviously one of their lower end wheels, I think this is quite nice. So let's flick this around again. And this must be the quick release. So what does that say? It says, stop turning once the quick release ring completely covers the indicator line. Over tightening may result in difficulty to loosen and damage. I'll be honest, Fanatec, if it's possible to over tighten this, it's also possible you've under-engineered your solution. We will see. I've heard horror stories about these things, but I'm not overly worried. I'll be honest, it's like when people complain about reliability and whatnot and having to return things. Generally speaking, I have quite good luck with these sorts of things. So anyway, that's the quick release, and you can see there, you've got unlock, which is that way, and lock, which is that way. So it says to go to about there. So you have an indicator line, which is this white line here. I don't know how visible that is. It's a grey line really. So tighten that up until it covers the grey line, and then leave it alone. Doesn't look like there's any kind of bolt or anything else to hold that in. Sort of tighten out to remove any end play or whatever. And you can see in there are the connectors that mate with the wheelbase. So that's really all there is to the wheel. I'm quite pleased with that. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's, for a cheap wheel, it doesn't feel terribly cheap. I will read the manual later, and if there's anything relevant in there, or something needs to be mentioned, I will go over it when we actually install this on the rig and try it out. So next up, we're going to open up our wheelbase. Okay, so here we've got the wheelbase and the power supply. it's worth talking about the power supply for a second. So you'll notice I've got another box on top of the one that came from Fanatec. So this is the 5 Newton meter base, but that's actually dictated by the size of the power supply. So this can draw 7.5 amps at 24 volts. This will supply 3 3/4 amps at 24 volts. It's a 90 watt power supply. This is a 24 volt, 180 watt power supply, and that will enable this to draw 7.5 amps, meaning that the peak torque for this wheel will in fact be 8 Newton meters, not 5 Newton meters. The actual wheelbase, whether you buy the 5 or 8 Newton meter kit, is exactly the same. And the bright orange cable here is just 4-pin Molex Minifit Junior, and this mates with the connector on here. So we'll pop that open in a second. Just get this out of the way. That'll be another video. I am going to do, I'm going to test this with both, obviously in this video, but actually making that up will be a different video. So here we go, here's the power brick. And as you can see, it's nothing terribly special, it is just a brick. And like I said, it's got that 4-pin Molex Minifit Junior. You can buy these cables, they're about 11 quid each. The one I bought was a bit cheaper. You know, the over-molded cables, these ones. And like I said, yeah, that's a 3 3/4 amp, 90 watt power brick. Other than the connector, there's nothing special about this at all. It's just a 24 volt power supply. So the fact that Fanatec are charging 150 euros for the 7.5 amp version is taking the mickey a little bit. But obviously they know their market, so someone's willing to pay it. Right. Another really nicely made box. We've got more words here, more poetry, there you go. Every driver has their limit. Well, yeah, you either end up in the wall or you don't. You push just that little bit too hard. I was racing around, I think it was Dubai Autodrome the other day, and there were no walls to hit. It's just the most characterless circuit. My limit is further than others. There you go. I don't know if that's positive or not, is it? Maybe it is. More stickers. There we go. Do you know what? Maybe I will find some space for some stickers. Maybe. We've got them anyway, you know, might as well. And there is a manual here. It's the quick guide, and that's in 35 different languages, which is why it seems like such a thick book. It's probably only a couple of pages per language. A quick flick through that, actually, before we get the rest of the thing out. It's all pictorial by the looks of it. Yeah, look at that. Just explains where everything plugs in. And it's got the sort of schematic views of the wheel, I suppose. The wheelbase, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way. And then some text. But we'll, you know, like I said, I will go over that. And then when we come to actually, you know, when it's all plugged in and we're actually doing it in the race, I'll explain if there's anything that needs explained. Very, very nicely packaged. That is some super thick foam. Again, Fanatec seem like they really don't want this to be damaged in transit. Interestingly, so there are two holes here. So there's some desiccant gel, which we were expecting, but if I tip this up, you see there's actually an aperture here for something. There's a little box here. This is going to have, I guess, fixtures and fittings and stuff in it. And obviously you can see the wheelbase there. Other than that, there's just nothing else in there. And there's no more words either. There's no more. That was it. That was the whole sentence. This box is sealed. See there? Do we want to put a bit of cardboard down before I pull this wheelbase out? I think I might. You give me a second to grab a sheet of cardboard here out of one of the boxes. Apologies if there's any noise from the mic rubbing on the collar there. I'm hoping there isn't. So let's get the wheelbase out. This was, I mean, the actual box here is fairly chunky. It's quite heavy. I think it's 5 kilos or so. Okay, that's not too bad. I pick that up quite happily with one hand. There's nothing else under our packaging. So we can put this to one side. while I move this box out of the way. Yeah, it does look like that. Yeah, I'm really impressed with the Fanatec packaging. It seems very good quality. Like I said, I think maybe they're just avoiding returns for damage in transit. Who knows? But yeah, hats off to them. They've done a really good job. Wish my packaging for my stuff was as good as this. But custom packaging is pricey. It's different if you're buying volume, but for the amount I sell, it would be too expensive. Kind of sad. Never mind. Here we go. Here is our wheel. We're going to take this bag off. I'm kind of disappointed this didn't have a cloth bag after the wheel. You know, it was very shiny. I'm guessing that's aluminium. Feels like it. It feels like it is not a good test for whether a metal is what you think it is. So yeah, no, it feels like cast iron, it feels like steel, it feels like aluminium, but it does feel like aluminium. I think good odds that it is. That motor's going to be very smooth, isn't it? I can feel it's a little bit notchy because you can feel what that is. That's obviously you've got the armature and you've got the spindle going through there, so you can feel. Yeah, that's cool. That feels very smooth. Okay, so looking at this, you've probably got a better view of the front than I have. I might just tip this up a little bit. So we've got a button here. You know, I guess that's going to be like a one function button, maybe. I'm going to have to read the manual. I bet there'll be like a long press or something that does something. Got 4 mounting holes here. I know that these are not for mounting the wheelbase. I did read the literature on the website, and it's quite clear that those 4 mounting holes are for accessories. I guess because this is plastic, which is a bit of a surprise, I'll be honest. Looking at it, I thought this was going to be like a lot of like stepper and servo motors where you have these metal caps, but apparently not. So I have to wonder, I flip this around, you can see it's also plastic at the back here. I need to have a good look at this myself. At the moment, you know, you're getting a good look. And you've got reports there. But I'm sort of surprised that they're plastic. I would have thought for the cost, mind you, actually, you know what, for the cost, maybe that's the point. But if I were taking apart a motor, I would expect the bearings for the spindle to be housed in the caps. And I can't imagine that's the case with this. I'm going to be a real wuss about this and not open it up. The temptation is there just to pop a couple of Allen keys down those holes and open the whole thing up, but I'm not really squeamish about that sort of thing, but I would like to try this out before we start pulling it apart. So if anyone has one of these that is dead, I mean properly dead, or that is going very, very cheap because it's got a real problem with it, go ahead and let me know, and that would be preferable to opening up my brand new one. But you know what? I'm going to do it eventually anyway, right? It's going to happen one day. Okay, so let's turn this around. Here we got the ports. So hopefully you got a good view of those. I'm trying to line this up so it's straight. There we go. Right. So like I said, with pedals, you could see the RJ45 there that goes into one of these ports here, the pedal port there. And you've got 2 different types of shifters. Obviously, you've got a sequential and like a gated shifter, and a handbrake. Then there is, I don't think anything plugs into this yet. This just has the USB symbol on it, so I guess we can plug, maybe like plug a hub in there, or does that go to, oh no, you know what? That's going to go to the computer, isn't it? That will go to the computer. There's our 4-pin power supply socket. And yeah, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing to actually attach to this bit yet. That's something that Fanatec seems to have plans for the future, but goodness knows what they are. There's a collar here. I'm not entirely sure what that's about. It's a clamp collar. I don't know why it's there. Maybe that holds the, I can't see that holds the spindle in place. There seems to be, yeah, there seems to be like a split collar in. This is a split collar. There seems to be like a split bushing in there. That may be difficult to see, but you can just see down here. Looks like there's a split bushing there. I don't know what that's for because it doesn't look. That's not metal. It's like GRP or something. It's it looks like plastic to me. And so I don't want to mess with this too much because it's brand new. So let's have a look at the this box here. See what's in the box. Like this with my thumbnail without getting a paper cut. There we go. When I used to work in I used to work at a bookshop and we used to get deliveries, and I always kept the thumbnail long because it was quicker than grabbing a knife. You just open all the boxes. Not like super long, but you know, like a talon, but just a little bit longer than this, so you just open all your boxes. Right, USB cable, USB-C, so obviously plugs into the back and goes to the computer. And we have 4 T-nuts. No bolts though, I notice. Looking at it, these are gonna be M6, I think. Get some M6 screws and bolt this whole thing to my GT Omega rig, which will probably be, well, in fact, will be the next thing that we're going to do. Actually, come think of it, I haven't turned this thing over to have a look, have I? Ooh. Okay. Right, okay, so I was looking from the front, as you can see here. And you have all these fins, which is great for cooling. And also they carry the styling on through the plastic bits. But if we turn it up, if we turn it this way, what those conceal is the T-slots. So I knew there were T-slots in the bottom, obviously, because that's how you're going to mount the thing, right? And take your T-nuts, and these look to be the same ones, same size ones that I use on the rig, to me. And they slot in there like that, and then you know you can bolt this down to your plate. What I didn't realise, and this is good, so I might have plans for this. What I didn't realise, there are actually T-slots on the side here. Look at that, how handy is that? It's a shame they haven't got any on the top. It doesn't really matter, I suppose. But what I'm thinking is, I'm obviously not doing this today, but what I'm thinking is if I want my rig to be, if I want to be able to take this off the rig, I'm going to fit a handle to the side. It did occur to me that I might want to make it a dual flight sim driving rig. But I don't think it's really necessary to remove this. Perhaps I can get away with not removing this and just unbolting the wheel. So, yeah, next job is to get this bolted onto the sim rig, and then we can try the wheel, try fitting the wheel, and then we can give it a go. We're going to road test P1 wheel and the wheelbase, the CSL DD wheelbase, around the Hungaroring. We're going to run a 10-minute race, but before we can do that we need to attach our wheel. So you saw the quick release earlier when we unboxed it, but this is how we attach it. So in here there is a key, and that aligns with the keyway on top of the output shaft on the DD. So push that in gently, you only really need finger pressure. Turn the collar counterclockwise as you're looking at the wheel until it stops, and it does say in the literature to turn that until it covers the grey line, but for this wheel at least it is the same thing. So the wheel that I was using prior to this, the C300 RS, had the Thrustmaster open wheel fitted to it, and I have bought the McLaren GT3 wheel for the Fanatec wheelbase as well. There should be some idea of the type of wheel that I prefer. I'm not a huge fan of these full steering wheels, but after using the GT3 wheel for most of the week, I've been pleasantly surprised by this one. It's plastic bodied. The faceplate is carbon fibre. I'm pretty sure it actually is carbon fibre. It's not a wrap or anything. It's not a veneer. It certainly feels like carbon fibre. And set into that faceplate are 13 buttons. I'm pretty sure they're all tactile switches, with the exception, of course, of the 4-way hat switch, which I guess brings you up to your 4-way hat switch with a push button. So I guess that brings you up to 18 inputs on the wheel, excluding the 2 shifters. Now those buttons are not, like some of the higher end wheels, fitted with removable button caps or replaceable button caps, which is a bit of a shame, but none of them are plain either. They've all got a legend on them, so it should be, as long as you assign things fairly intuitively, it should be fairly straightforward to figure out what you've assigned to what, or you should be able to find a button which matches roughly what you want to assign it to. And yeah, they're all quite nicely printed details, all there is. Yeah, they're alright. The shifters, I was worried about those being a bit vague and a bit mushy, which was what I thought when I took it out of the box. You saw the unboxing. I think I said that. It was, oh, they feel a bit soft and a bit mushy. Funny enough, compared to the open wheel ones on my Thrustmaster wheel, these are a night and day difference. They're so much better. And I like those shifters. So they're very positive. Yes, they're soft, which is nice because it means that they're actually easy on the hands. The actuation force is fairly low, but they don't feel, not flappy. They don't feel so soft that you're going to miss a shift. You know, they're very affirmative, very positive shifting things. So a really pleasant surprise that. The rim itself, all rubber, grips are nicely moulded, they're just the right size and shape for my hands, so again, pleased with those. And as you can probably see at the top of the rim, there is a little readout, a little 3-digit display. Now ordinarily that displays your speed. It will also display which gear you're in when you shift, up or down. And if you have the Fanatec software, you can modify how that behaves, and that's also true of track limits. No, oh, that's good. You can also, that's also true of the shift light, which is just above it. This little white thing here, and that changes colour as you go up through the rev range, and will flash angrily at you if you end up redlining. And quite useful that, because it's right in my eye line. So. I've been using that more so than the on-screen display, which is unusual. When it comes to the wheelbase, I think that's really kind of the star of the show, isn't it? When it comes to the wheelbase, installation was fairly straightforward, both hardware and software, though, well, we'll talk about software in a second, but in terms of hardware, this is the GT Omega Prime Lite sim rig, and the wheel plate had 4 holes in just the right place for the T-slots on the CSL DD. So I fed 4 bolts through those, loosely fixed the T-nuts in place, and then slid the whole wheelbase backwards onto those and tighten them all down. Everything's really easy to access. Incidentally, if you are looking for a budget-friendly sim rig for your CSL DD, go and have a look at GT Omega, because their Prime Lite cockpit is just impossible to beat for value. I promise you. I don't work for them or anything. They don't send me free stuff. Chance to be a fine thing. No, I'm just really happy with the rig. Anyway, the software installation is kind of noteworthy for 2 reasons. Firstly, you will be prompted when you when you come to install this to install the latest Fanatec software, and it'll take you to it'll link to the website and download it for you. The key thing to remember is if you've had Fanatec Gear in the past and you've already got the software installed, update it. Don't download it and then forget about it and update your firmware off of old software, because that will cause all sorts of problems, and it did. Until I realised that's what I'd done, and installed new software, re-updated the firmware for the wheel and the wheelbase, and now everything is playing happily and nicely together. Also, the Fanlab software, which I mentioned about this. Fanlab software will set your settings for the wheelbase, the FFB settings, automatically depending on the sim that you're using. So when I first plugged the wheelbase in, I loaded up R-Factors 2, which is my sim of choice. Obviously this is Assetto Corsa Competizione. I loaded up RF2 and thought I bought a dud wheel. It felt grainy, it felt horrible, the force feedback was terrible, not a nice experience, and turns out it's just the settings on R-Factor 2. It's just not set up out of the box for the CSL DD. ACC, on the other hand, was actually pretty good, and the settings applied by Fanlab, and you can do it manually, but Fanlab doing it automatically, it's just improved that now. It feels great. It's a really FFB is really nice in this sim. Oh no! Yeah, so make sure you get your software sorted out and install Fanlab, because at least then you'll have you'll always have the right settings for your sim, for your wheel. So what else? Well, you saw during the unboxing, you saw it's got the 4 ports on the back for the 2 shifters, handbrake and pedals. It's got 2 USB-C ports. You have the 4-pin connector for your power supply. Now, this is important because the peak torque makes a huge difference in how this wheel feels. I've used this with the proper Fanatec supply that I received with the wheelbase. That's the 90 watt power supply. That gives you 5 Newton meters of peak torque. And honestly, it was an improvement on my T300 RS, but it wasn't, it wasn't revelatory. It wasn't like, oh yeah, this was an amazing upgrade. The feel of the wheel was better. The detail was better. The speed with which it would, spin over was better. The strength wasn't a huge difference, but it was an improvement, but it wasn't a huge improvement. And then I plugged in my homebrew, it's actually a 200 watt power supply, but my homebrew power supply, and that supplies enough power for this to recognise it as a 180 watt power supply, or that it's got the boost kit plugged in, which is what Fanatec call their higher wattage power supply. They call it the boost kit 180, and that is a world of difference. So it's night and day. I can't tell you just... Well, I can tell you, the problem is I can't quantify it, really. It is such a huge difference that it's something like 60% more power on top of the 5 Newton meter base, and it just makes all the difference. Again, that movement speed of the wheel, which is where a lot of feedback comes from. Remember, that wheel being able to give you information from the game quicker, or from the sim quicker, to tell you which direction the car is moving, in which direction it's pointing, the bumps in the road, all that kind of stuff means that you as the driver can react quicker. It becomes a lot easier to catch a slide before it happens, for instance. And I've sort of spoken to a friend of mine about this. My mate Alex came around to help me test this stuff out when we were talking about it, and I sort of said, I expect the wheel to make me more consistent, not necessarily faster. Though, it should help with lap times if you are more consistent. It's a lot harder to be consistent when you're talking, because I can try and concentrate on that, and what everyone's supposed to be saying. So yeah, huge difference to 8 Newton meters. I would absolutely recommend it. Whether you buy it through Fanatec, whether you make your own, just make sure you end up with the 8 Newton meter output on your wheel. It will, I promise you, it will be such a huge difference. But we'll talk about that, the actual power supply and where to get it from in a minute. We'll go back to the bench. to draw some conclusions. Well, I'm not going to labour the point. I think you can tell that I'm impressed with the bundle as a whole. We didn't test the pedals, but when we got them out of the box, they're, you know, pretty heavy duty. That heel plate is indestructible. The pedals are nicely sprung. They're thick steel. They're enclosed Hall sensors. There's not a lot to go wrong, and they're probably going to feel like a really nice upgrade on some of the really cheapy pedals that you get with the lower end wheelbases. In terms of value for money, there is nothing to compete with this at all. So this is £400, well £397 at the moment, delivered. That's including shipping and handling and VAT from Germany to the UK. It's about £480 for the 8Nm version instead of the 5Nm. Obviously I DIY'd mine, and there are multiple reasons for this. Obviously it saves you a bit of money. This is about 20 quid, just over £20. I will post a link to these parts here from Amazon. That's not the only reason though. I'm actually preparing a couple of pans which will sit underneath the Simri. They'll bolt onto the aluminium profile. And they'll sit under the pedal plate, under the seat, hold all the electronics. So they're accessible but hidden out of the way, because I move my Simri around a lot, so everything needs to be kind of self-contained. And this has holes that you can bolt through or screw through. So it's not always about money. And also, I can make the cables up as long as I like, because these have screw terminals. So yeah, sometimes it's about practicality rather than saving a few quid. So yeah, speaking of which, the closest thing to this is going to be a Moser R5 bundle. That is 500 quid, and it's a 5Nm wheel. There's no possibility of upgrading later on with a larger power supply. It is what it is. In terms of 8Nm, the closest thing again is the Moser, but that's the R9, and that doesn't come as part of a bundle. You still have to buy a wheel, you still have to buy pedals. So I think personally, if you're getting into direct drive territory, this, unless you have a really serious budget, you know, £1,000 plus, this is a bit of a no-brainer. And I'm certainly you know, thrilled with it, to be honest. It did cross my mind to sell this, you know, to recoup some of the money that I paid for this, because I bought the McLaren GC3 wheel. However, it also occurred to me that when we have people over who aren't into the hobby, this is going to look a little bit intimidating. You know, it's unusual. You don't, if you don't drive with one of these every day. You drive with something like this. It's going to look a lot friendlier. So I think I might keep this around. So when we've got friends around who aren't sim racers, they've got something to use that isn't quite so well, doesn't look quite so like a racing wheel. I did say we'd have a look at this. So this is the McLaren GC3 wheel. This is the V1, not the V2. I don't think there's a huge difference between the two of them. And it's a really nice wheel so far. I've been very, very happy with this. What I've been using for most of the last sort of week and a half or so. If I flip this round, you can see that the previous owner has had these magnetic shifters retrofit to it. Ordinarily it comes with a bar that goes all the way across, so you can shift with one hand. You can either push or pull to shift up or down. But these are really nice to use. And the clutch paddles here are just kind of awesome. I mean, I don't think they're actually improving my starts all that much, but you can do a clutch white point fine like you can on the F1. So you let one go and that will get you to like 70% clutch, and then you let the other one out to get to 100%, off you go. The bad points for this really are the grips. The rubber's starting to go, so they're a little bit sticky, so I think eventually I'll just upholster these with some suede. I do have a load back there which was supposed to be for the open wheel for my Thrustmaster, but since I've upgraded I don't think I'll bother now. Otherwise it's a really nice wheel, and it has those removable button caps I was talking about. You see I've just put a couple on here. We've got the ignition and the lights, and these got these little toggle switches for my ABS and traction control. I've also got the pit limiter, neutral. It's just a really awesome wheel to use. It's a very cool thing. Oh, actually, before I forget, it also has the old style, I'm not going to call it a quick release, but the old style mount for the shaft here. And this has a little screw that screws in and pulls all that in like a collet, and like a collet closer, and pulls everything down. Not terribly quick to release, but to be honest, how often am I going to be removing that wheel? So yeah, that's kind of it really. It's a really nice system. The ecosystem's all right. The next upgrade is probably going to be the Formula Wheel version 2.5. You know, going up from one of these to one of those. but that won't be for a long time yet. But when that does happen, I'll make a video about it. So hopefully that's helped you make a decision about whether you want to take Leap with one of these. If you have any questions, by all means, stick them in the comments. Like I said, I will post a link to the parts for this. There are videos out there on YouTube with people showing you how to do these. It's only 4 wires, it's very straightforward. So, don't be intimidated. And yeah, like I say, any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.